Captain Midnight.
This video is brought to you by SetApp. So Daredevil Season 3 dropped on Netflix recently, and I gotta say, it kind of brought with it a set of oddly bittersweet feelings. I'm still working my way through the season, so don't worry, there won't be any major spoilers in this video, but from what I've seen, I'm a lot happier with this season than I was with Season 2. Not only is Wilson Fisk, probably my favorite character in the show, a major part of the action once again, Season 3 is much more focused on Matt Murdock's Catholic faith. Or, lack of it. And that's arguably one of the most interesting things about Daredevil, especially in the Frank Miller days, who was able to write guilt better than just about anyone around. And even though Murdock's religion has definitely been a part of the show in the past, this season digs into it in a much deeper way. Not to mention, the show just looks better this year, the fight choreography is great, all around it just seems to be a major step up. In some ways it really seems like the Netflix corner of the MCU finally hitting its stride. But of course, at the moment that kind of comes with a huge caveat.
And the name's Daredevil.
You would have to be a daredevil to dare to challenge me.
The same day that Daredevil Season 3 hit Netflix, it was announced that Luke Cage was cancelled. And a few days before that, it was the black sheep of the Marvel Netflix family, Iron Fist, biting the dust. This caught a lot of people off guard. Sure, Netflix has cancelled shows in the past, Sense8, Girl Boss, Joel McHale's Talk Show, among others. But the Marvel stuff, that seemed a little bit more high profile. Adding to the confusion is the fact that Netflix, unlike traditional TV networks that have to report their ratings, is super secretive. And I get they don't have to tell us what their numbers are, but then they shouldn't turn around and do things like try to use the number of Instagram followers the stars of their show gained as representative of how big of hits their shows are, which they just did. And I'm sure shows like Stranger Things did do amazingly well. But if they really expect the press to tout how great they're doing, the least Netflix could do is give them some actual data to show off. Because really, unless it's a massive phenomenon like Stranger Things, it's hard to tell where anything stands on Netflix. There's a bunch of companies no one had previously heard of before, like Symphony AM, that claims to measure Netflix ratings by listening to your TV, which, creepy. And back in 2016, they said that Luke Cage was Netflix's biggest hit of the whole year. Now, is that true? Maybe it started off huge and then really dropped off? Who knows really, because Netflix is always so secretive, unless they want a little bit of positive press.
Hold it, Spider-Man. I don't want to believe that you pulled off the heist today, but I've got to make sure.
Daredevil! I haven't got time to explain.
Just tell me your side of it. I'll know if you're lying.
But where does that leave Daredevil? With a very solid Season 3, sure, and that's really great, but beyond that, I'm a little worried for the future of the show, with Disney going full steam ahead on their new streaming service, even announcing shows starring Loki and the Scarlet Witch. It kinda seems like the Netflix shows, and maybe even stuff on other networks like Cloak and Dagger and Runaways, could get left in the dust, with Marvel having kind of less interest in supporting them. Now, I've seen a lot of fans online speculate about a Hero for Hire show, which would team up both Cage and Danny Rand. And Netflix themselves played into this a little bit, hinting on Twitter that this wasn't the end for Iron Fist. But to be honest, I'm a little skeptical. For one thing, it seems like Luke Cage kind of ended on bad terms for everyone. The actors aren't happy, the writers were apparently in a big dispute with Netflix all year because they wanted to do 10 episodes and Netflix wanted 13. And judging by Season 2, 10 was probably the better idea. I don't really know, I'm just saying that the whole thing seems pretty messy. Add to that how many showrunners these shows, including Daredevil, have gone through, and the fact that the creator of Jessica Jones is leaving the show after next season, not to mention there being absolutely no plans for Defender Season 2, to me it adds up to a pretty grim picture for the future of the Netflix shows. Now we do have new seasons of Jessica Jones and The Punisher coming out, and hopefully those can continue to improve like Daredevil did this year. But it still feels like all of this is kind of winding down. Now I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but I think for the moment it's safe to say that things don't look great.
Take her down, pal!
The only thing going down is you.
Let's hope he's good at flying.
This doesn't diminish Daredevil Season 3, and I don't think it'd be fair to hold any of these weird behind-the-scenes business disputes against the show. But in my opinion, it does diminish the overall promise that these Netflix shows once had. When all of this was first announced, I remember being beyond excited. An entire TV wing of the MCU, focusing on the grittier and more grounded heroes, including a few of my absolute favorites. It seemed too good to be true. And in the end, maybe it was. Now, there's been some real high points. The lead actors are great, Fisk, Kilgrave. Oh, and the Punisher is pretty good once it actually gets going. But overall, the Netflix shows have never quite lived up to that potential for me. They really fell victim to the streaming service's usual pacing issues, with the middle episodes tending to be really slow and the stories so stretched out. And that was really apparent in Jessica Jones Season 2 and Luke Cage Season 2, and I think it hit a real low in Iron Fist Season 1 and The Defenders. Now, I don't know much about their deal with Disney, but if possible, I'd like to see them try to rebuild the Netflix MCU with shorter, less meandering seasons and more grounded stakes. Instead of bringing someone like Iron Fist back, how about a show about Wilson Fisk? I do still think there's plenty of potential here, and Daredevil Season 3, in my view, is pretty real proof of that. But it's also clear to me that they need to change up their overall strategy, and they need to do it fast. But this is definitely one where I want to know what you think. Have you been happy with the Netflix MCU shows, or do you just want a major overhaul? Oh, and do you want to see Luke Cage or Iron Fist back in some form? I'll definitely be reading the comments below. You know, the Netflix subscription model really does seem to be the future. And the interesting thing is, it can apply to so much more than just TV and movies. In fact, if you're a Mac user, there's a really great subscription service you may not have heard of, SetApp. SetApp is a new way to find over 130 best-in-class Mac apps from great developers, all available in one subscription. For $9.99 a month, you can gain access to Mac apps across all categories imaginable, from personal productivity to software development, education, lifestyle, writing, photography, and a ton more. And I think the best part is things like in-app purchases and ads are totally gone. The apps are always being updated and new ones are constantly added. Oh, and if you're a college student like me, you're definitely going to want to check it out, since they have really great student and family plans as well. So try out nearly all the Mac apps you'll ever need with a 7-day free trial by going to the link in the video description or pinned comment below.
Here's a special tip for the fellas and girls who have not already joined Captain Midnight's new 1940 Flight Patrol. You'd better hurry up and join at once, because there's a big adventure ahead. The thing to do now is to get started, because we're going to have not only barrels of fun, but loads of free gifts and prizes too.